I got to tell you guys something here. So Jacob Bowman, who's now an executive at Fox, goes, "Wait a minute, you're getting David Hill on?" I go, "Well, you got to remember something about David Hill. David flies all over the world. You got to catch him between stops in England and Paris and France. He could be anywhere in the world." And when I'm like this, I go, "So David, you got the what are we going to talk about here?" And I'm like, "Wait a minute. It's the 30th anniversary of the NFL on Fox, maybe the most significant thing in how sports broadcasting in the NFL has ever happened. This is the dude. He changed the way NFL coverage is. You imagine going to John Madden and doing this? Hey, John, I want you to leave CBS. You mean the Tiffany Network? Yeah, I want you to come to work where Bart Simpson works. Come again? Let's bring David Hill in here. He joins us here now. Am I right, David? I mean, I'd love to have been in the room with you when you went, "Hey, John, I want you to come to work at Fox, and I want you to take all your CBS guys with you and come start a brand new way of how to do football."
Well, it was. Good afternoon, Dan.
Good afternoon to you, David.
Wonderful. Hang on. Just. Yeah. Well, it was 30 years ago. It was a long time ago. It was probably one of the most first of all, I never ever thought I was in London. I was running Fox Sports, and that had been quite a battle to get up and running. But we got that up and running. Then we started the EPL. And then out of the blue, Mr. Murdoch said that he was going to try and get the NFL. And I said, "Oh, yeah, right. Yeah, right. Yeah, okay, sure. Okay." And he went ahead and did it with the help of Chase Carey. And it was probably one of the most incredible moments I've ever had. So, I didn't think I was going to have anything to do with it. It was like I'd been brought across, and we'd done a pitch down in Dallas at the Cowboys to Jerry Jones and Paul Tagliabue and whatever. And I went back to London, and everyone said, "So how'd it go?" CBS is never going to let it go. Come on, it's the NFC. And it happened. So I got a phone call and suddenly found myself in Los Angeles with 6 months to set it up. So it was an interesting. You know what the Chinese say? It's one of the worst curses is may you live in interesting times. I spent 6 months living in interesting times.
Absolutely. So David, when I tell you it's the 30th anniversary of the NFL on Fox, what's the first thing that crosses your mind?
Terror.
You hear that?
Sheer unadulterated terror. Let me tell you a story. I had only ever seen one NFL game live. My wife, Joan, is from Nebraska, and we're in London, and she said, "Let's go and watch some American football." And this is when they would have preseason games at I think it was at Wembley. So I remember the Saints were playing. And so we go out, and I said, "So what do I watch?" I'd played rugby all my life. And she said, "You see that guy there? You just watch the quarterback. That's all you got to watch." I said, "Oh, okay." And so there I was, kind of like in the States, 6 months. I remember vividly when I arrived, I got an IBM Selectric typewriter, a yellow legal pad, and 2 HB pencils that weren't sharpened. I had to sharpen them myself, and had to get things up and running in 6 months. So it was a bit of a wild ride, as you can imagine.
Absolutely, man. I mean, David, when you hear this, that it is the #1 rated NFL show, and it's been that way since pretty much its inception.
Day one.
I mean, that just shows you how many television shows, David, last 30 years #1.
Well, it's the guys. It was like I got really lucky. Let me tell you the story about Terry Bradshaw. And Terry really was, with all the incredible talent that has been at Fox Sports and is going through Fox Sports, that to me, Terry Bradshaw was perfect. It was that when I arrived, I'm not a real sports fan at all. There was, I think, Sean McDonough's dad said this David Hill doesn't know if a football's puffed or stuffed, and he was absolutely right. I did not have a clue, but I knew that we would be judged on what we did rather than the game itself, and we'd been fortunate enough to get Pat and John, so we knew that that was in good hands. And Bob Stanner was producing, and what's his name, Grossman was directing. So that
Sandy
was
Grossman.
Sandy was so that was kind of like, that's AAA, that's top shelf, that's terrific. But the most telling thing for me was, I think that January '93 issue of Sports Illustrated had NFL on the front, and it said "No Fun League." And I've always seen sports as the world's greatest entertainment. And so I'm trying to figure out, I knew I wanted someone I just didn't want to put a bunch of guys down. They had to have a reason why they were there. Same as any television show needs to have an inherent reason. And I wanted a guy from offense, a guy from defense, and a coach. And so, of course, the only thing I was told by the executives who were then at Fox was, do not hire Terry Bradshaw. Because I wouldn't know Terry Bradshaw if he stood up in my cornflakes. And so by a sheer fluke, I'm watching the CBS pregame show for the NFC Championship. And I knew Greg Gumbel because I'd seen Greg and thought he was terrific. And then there's this guy with him. And I think, oh, he's pretty good. But then there was a moment. He got up, walked across the studio, and started using his telestrator. And it wasn't a walk. It was this confident stride. And I thought, that's it. That's the guy I want. Then I found out he was a mortal quarterback and da-da-da, so that gave me offense. And so the whole thing was built around Terry. And when you look at Terry has got an incredible sense of humor, an incredible sense of timing, an incredible knowledge, most importantly, an incredible communicative skill and a self-deprecating sense of humor. So that when those three came together, which like Howie Long straight off the field, number 75 from the Raiders. And then Jerry Jones did me the greatest favor in the world by firing Jimmy Johnson. and Ed Gorin, who I'd hired from CBS, knew Jimmy very well. So as soon as that happened, Ed's on a plane down to Dallas, talked to Jimmy, bang, and away it went. And Scotty Atkinson put it all together, and there it was. We had some brilliant guys working behind the scenes that made it all come together, especially Bill Richards, who's doing it now. So it was the key thing when I look back on those days was, I'd done it. I'd started 3 sports divisions before, 1 in Australia and 2 in Britain. And what that teaches you is what not to do. In any startup, what inevitably scuppers a startup is doing things that they shouldn't be doing at the beginning of the business. And I knew what had to be done and what had not to be done. And so it was, the fact was that I never got a chance to second guess myself. So it had to be bang, 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 make the decision, move on, whatever. So it was, it went with a rush, even to the extent of the music, da-da-da, da-da-da, where that came from, like it was all these little things that happened, that Scotty Schreer and this brilliant guy called George Greenberg, who I'd hired from ABC. So it was all these incredible talents behind the scenes that were kind of lifting the Terry, Howie, and Jimmy show, and at that stage with JB, who then took off to CBS.
David, do you agree that you never invest in the widget, you invest in people? So you may not have known football, but you knew people, and you knew because it's funny, I never realized this about you, that, you said, I've really never seen an NFL game. So it must be when you're putting these things together to gravitate audience and to get viewers and to have people interested in like the NFL on Fox or anything that you've ever been in, it's about the people, isn't it? And how you see that, because if you don't, the widget is great. You can have the widget, you can have all that. It could be a great product, but if you don't have the people pushing the widget, you're never going to go anywhere.
Well, it's like television is television, and I'm not a great lover of sports, but I'm a great lover of television. And just because I didn't know football like, I didn't know how to make films, yet I produced the Oscars. I didn't know how to drive a Formula One car. I've just come off producing Formula One. I didn't know how to sing, but I produced 3 years of American Idol. I didn't know how to be an explorer, but I ran National Geographic for a few years. So it's all about television. And what is the essence of television? The essence of television is a human being speaking to a human being. And when we're doing sports broadcasting, we are going back thousands of years into a cave somewhere where Ugg is talking about another guy who killed a brontosaurus, right? So we're telling tales of heroes. So it's a human being talking to human beings talking to human beings, or you hope, not chatbots or killer robots. And that's what you need to do. So I've been working in television. I started working newspapers at 17, started working television when I was 19. So it's like I am a child of television. I'm totally useless at virtually anything else. No, make that anything else. Totally.
David, do you realize, though, on how the NFL is being covered today, the impact that you had 30 years ago on how you see all the things throughout all the networks now? You know, I mean, everything that you see now is what you guys formulated because everybody's copycatted. They always say the NFL is a copycat league. I think sometimes broadcasting is too, and they've taken just your thought on how you impacted and how the NFL is covered today.
Well, it's kind of like when I take on any sport, and I've produced a lot of sports, I always go back to its history. How did it start? And I'm always fascinated. If you go back to the 1880s, 1890s, when professional sport really started, when money was so tight, and what made a laborer give up a nickel or a dime or a penny to watch someone else play sports? What was about it? And to me, it was always that the average height of population back then was about 5'5", 5'4", 5'5", but the athletes were about the same size, 6 foot, 6'1". So they're looking up. So I brought all the cameras down as much as I could, so that if you look at the NFL coverage today, it's a ground coverage, and it's showing it's showing the physicality of the players. The other tricks and bobs we did, the score in the corner, which I dreamed up in England, and we introduced it here. I got 5 death threats from Texas. You're a foreigner, you're screwing with football. We know where you live. We got to kill you. Welcome to America. Yeah. What? That was,
death threats because you're changing the coverage of the NFL. That means you're doing it right, David.
Well, I tell you what, if you reckon that was bad, you should have heard what I copped when I made the puck glow with the NHL, and what I was getting.
Oh my God.
It was a classic. I wish I think there was a cartoon in the Toronto Globe and Mail, and they were everyone in Canada was somehow incensed that I'd made the puck glow. The ratings doubled during that period, which will tell you something. And then when Espen got it, we lost it, and there's no glowing puck. They went back down. But the Globe and Mail published a set of glasses and said, "Memo, David Hill, this is all you need to watch hockey."
I love that. Couple last questions for you. David, do you like the NFL on today's show today?
Do I like the NFL now?
No, do you like the NFL on Fox today?
Oh yeah, love it. Oh yeah. Yes. Yeah, I think that the addition of Michael was kind of like that really rejuvenated the show. It was getting bit stayed, and then Michael Strahan is such an incredible personality and such a consummate professional broadcaster that he actually elevated the guy. And what he did, it's interesting because those guys are so competitive. That lifted them because Michael came in and he set the bar here, and they've all got up to it. Yeah, no, I do very much. Bill Richards is producing it. There's some like that clip on Sunday's show with Derek Jeter and Patrick Mahone, I thought was absolutely brilliantly done. No, I love it. And I love what they've done to the studio, and they've opened it up with Gary Hartley's designed that set. And I think what Eric Shanks has done is kind of like lifted the whole thing. I always think when I leave a place, the guy coming by me says, "Oh, thank God he's gone." It's like taking a bag of cement off my shoulders.
Absolutely. Again, streaming. How important do you think streaming is going to be in the world of sports, especially the National Football League, as we move forward? Because I still think people trying to figure out how to monetize it, David, and also how to produce, because the NFL is making a big play now into streaming. How important do you think that's going to be for the future of broadcasting in sports?
Like the entire media landscape changed in 2012. And I firmly believe, just looking at what's going on, that since 2012, which, as you know, was when social media really got its claws into the world, that we are now like 12, 13 years into a new media era. And I think that we are dictated to by the populace now, that the things have shifted. It used to be the God programmer, the Brandon Tartikoff would set the schedule and you watched it, et cetera, et cetera. That's changed now. It's like you want to watch when you want to watch whatever. I think NFL is the last standout, that at 1 o'clock and 4 o'clock on a Sunday, and then Monday and Sunday nights. I think that streaming is the way to go. It will ultimately happen. It has to. Look what it's done to the economics of the broadcast networks. Yeah. I don't think they can no longer afford the where the price is going to be for the NFL. Just think about it. In 1993, the NFL, the top ranked football show, I think, was about ranked number 22 in the television shows that American watch. Today, of the top 100 shows, like 80 are football games. So the NFL is the most potent, and it is a huge credit to Paul Tagliabue, who realized back in 1998 that the NFL wasn't a sports organization, it was a media company. And they have, like with people like Howard Katz and Stevie Bornstein, what they've done to football, the way we take it. And the trick was, Paul Tagliabue did the first ever survey of what the American football fan really thought of. And he found out that only 2% of Americans had ever been to see a live NFL game.
That's right.
How can that be? And he explained it. So therefore, America gets its football fix through what? Television. So therefore, Paul made that mental shift, which changed the entire thinking of the National Football League. And we can see the benefits and the results today.
Finally here, are you retired?
No.
I mean, I can't think a dude like you is ever retired, aren't you? There's no way, David, you have a finish line. I tell these people like you and the great people that have been in broadcasting, Roone Arledge, Roone Arledge told me years ago, I go, "So are you ever happy?" He goes, "No, I don't have a finish line." So I can't think you have a finish line.
Well, like Roone Arledge has been my hero since 1977. Like I have probably never made a production decision about thinking how would Roone Arledge handle that. Like he is our Mount Rushmore. He is kind of like born there, and the rest of us that have come behind him, we're just footnotes. But why should you retire? What am I going to do? I realize I'm never going to win the US Open, so I've given golf away. That's like whatever. I've just
or the Grand Prix of Monaco. I would say that too. That's got to be one of your favorites.
Yeah, it was that. But I thought that was going to be my that I'm going to do the Vegas race if they'll still have me. But then I'm finished with Formula One at the end of this year. I'm doing bits and pieces. I've got a little media company, tech company that we're working on some things which are interesting. But there's always a phone call. Would you like to do so and so? And I've been dead lucky. I've got I've done so many things in the last 8-9 years that have all come out of a phone call. Would you like to? And you go, well, either yeah, that sounds really cool. So why retire, for God's sake? Why retire? And wait, what's the next big thing in your life when you die?
But David, I can't thank you enough, man. You're a legend, and
Yeah,
Coach
right.
Johnson loves you to death. I mean, he said this. He goes, "There's only one good thing about David not being around anymore." And I said, "What's that?" He goes, "Well, I can't do a remote shows with David around. I get to do them. I get to do them now because David was totally against me doing remote shows. They let me do remote shows now."
Yeah. Things change. Things change. And
Thank you, David.
Probably for the better.
Thank you so much, David. I appreciate it.
All right, man. See you later.
Man, the legendary David Hill, the man who created and founded the NFL on Fox. Absolutely awesome. He is the Roone Arledge of today. That's Roone Arledge. How you see your NFL today is because of him. You will never see that guy on another show. He doesn't do them. He created your Sunday football watching. That's who that guy is. Hit the like button. Keep it here on National Football Show.
Football and Hooters.